Hey everyone, I'm meteorologist Joe Murgo. Time for another edition of That's Cool. And I promised several weeks back that I would continue to share more photos from my adventure when I went out west and hid in the mountains of Colorado for a while. Well, one day I actually did something that was very interesting and crossed over to a hiking trail that is in Utah in the middle of nothing. When I talk about middle of nothing, we were driving and didn't see a human being. We were on dirt roads, thank goodness. My friends had a great vehicle who were taking us there, all to see some more ancient ruins. But unlike last time around, this time around, we can go to it on our own, but we had to hike to it. And you could see more things that were not really touched by humans. So let me go ahead and show you my trip. And of course, since I was going to cross over and hike in Utah, I had to drive and find a sign because it's one of the states I have never been to, and so I had to grab that. And it's beautiful. It's an arid area, but near some rivers, you have some greenery, and this is close to where we were going to be doing our hiking. Now, we went on the hike. It was a difficult hike, and let me tell you, this is a picture of my wife checking her heart rate and my friend Karen taking a break because, well, let me just say this. There's a reason why not many people have done this, because in the summer, it's very hot, it's very dry. When we got done with our hiking, the car thermometer, after moving, I let it move a little bit. Now remember, car thermometers are going to run a little bit on the high side, but it was reading 121 in motion. So that it was a hot day. I will have to tell you, it was the hottest hike that we've ever made, but it was worth it. Of course, it didn't help that we did get lost on a wrong direction hike for an hour before we found our way. So that was a little bit of a break, but then we made it to Monarch Cave. And wow, we were getting up close to it. And again, this is from the ancient Pueblonian people. And those ancient Pueblos, they lived in this cave. Because it was near water down below. It also protected them from the harsh heat that we hiked in and the harsh cold. And this is one of those that you can get up. And it is in the middle of a valley, at the end of a valley, so the water would run down in the creek bed. Of course, it was dry while we were there. That's what we hiked up on through. And some great views from nearby, and that is on our lost hike. But back to this, okay? When you're there, you can see, now some of these are newer, but some of these are paint from people that were around 1000 AD living there. And it's really neat. And you can see where they were grinding some corn and where they had some tool pits. I mean, you're walking right there and you can see their architecture. Now, some of the rocks were placed by other people nearby. But if you look in the back there, the black, that was where people found pottery, and we could walk around. You could still find pottery down in the valley below from the people who lived there. Now, that is cool because we're talking about something 1,000 years old. This is a bowl that they used to use to grind their corn. This, I don't believe, was an original one, but there were some pieces of petrified corn that we did find on the ground there. So there was some really neat things that we were visiting. And again, that's where they were carving. And you could see where they were working. There's different structures in the stone when they were doing things. And it's just incredible. A hard hike to get there, but definitely worth the trip. And one of the reasons why these remains stay there is such an arid place. There's a close-up of some of the handprints on the wall and some of the pits in the rock that they carved away and made. I mean, it was just phenomenal. Some of the things you would see etched on the walls. And this is old stuff. grab this down a little bit so you can see a little bit more. So I really thank my friends who talked me into going out there. So look at some of these areas that they dug holes in the rocks. Some more pictures of the ruins. All right, now let me go ahead and show you this because this was our hike. I am not going, and you can almost put it together a little bit by looking at the map. I'm not going to put the exact location. The reason why, it's an area, it's open to the public. You can hike, you can do research on Monarch Cave, and I'm not going to. So far, it has not been spoiled by tourists, and I will tell you, extremely difficult to get there. So you may just want to rewind and look at my pictures. The overall hike wasn't that bad. Again, this was the main hike. We already had another hour hike elsewhere. 3.1 miles, elevation gain 466 feet. But with the car thermometer reading at 121, I would estimate that we were at 110 or higher as we went up to the base of the ridge line. And the reason why they chose that side of the ridge line was probably because it's very difficult to get to, and probably protected them against any invaders. And in the car, since we were driving, and we did not interact with any people in Utah, but we did real quickly dive in and take a look at Arches National Park. Definitely worth it. I'll eventually have to share online some other pictures that I took. That's called Balanced Rock. And just tremendous rock formations that remain. And this area was once covered by an inland sea, and what you're seeing is slowly through erosion through time, leaving these behind. So these mountains are eroding, and then you see in the distance here the arch. What happens is it erodes, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and eventually the water and wind help leave. The only thing left behind is an arch. And there's a lot of examples of them out there. I wish, again, we wanted to be very isolated, so we really didn't spend much time. There's a nice picture of a cactus that I took too. So I will have to make the trip out there again. But the western United States has some beautiful things that you can see. And I just wanted to share with you my cool experience with my photos. Now imagine that was all an inland sea before. It's amazing. And then when we're talking millions of years, eventually things eroding away. I would love to take a trip back and watch a time lapse of these forming. So this was, again, right across the border from where we were in Colorado. And again, Monarch Cave was really cool. Arches is really cool. I will tell you that you want to make sure that if you do go to Monarch Cave, it's a strenuous hike. There's another cave that we saw and some pits on the side of the caves. So it's just phenomenal. It was a good trip, and I just wanted to share with you that experience. And coming up in future editions, I will share with you some of the other adventures I've been on. I have some other gadgets that I'm reviewing, and I have a couple of special interviews that will be coming up. So hopefully you tune in, and if there's anything you want to discuss or want me to look into that you find is cool, go ahead and email it to me at jmurgo@wtajtv.com.